Hey folks, this is Bardic Dragoon. Welcome to another Let's Play. This time around we'll be playing Gargoyles Quest, Ghosting Goblins, a side story or side game of the Ghosting Goblins series, known in Japan as Red Armor Makaimura Gaiden or Red Armor Demon World Village side story, something like that. It basically translates the same thing, except that the Gargoyles Quest part is replaced with the Japanese name of the main character, Red Armor, a reoccurring enemy in the Ghosting Goblins series. That red gargoyle that does that swooping attack pattern. I'm not sure really if he's known for much more than that in that series. But yeah, in this game and in later appearances such as Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, this character is known as Firebrand as far as it goes in the American or Western world, whatever. But yeah, this, in case the music right there and the fact that it says it right there in the title, is a side story of Ghosting Goblins. As I said, you play as one of the recurring enemies, Red Armor, and basically the story, well, kind of is laid out pretty well in that nice little text scroll at the beginning. Sort of. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure I understand the story, mostly because I've never, despite the fact that this was one of the first games I owned when I got a Game Boy, I think I got the Game Boy Light, not long, like the year it came out. And this is one of the first games I owned for it. I never bothered at all with the story. But basically, it's something along the lines of evil people, the destroyers or whatever, have invaded the ghoul world. Which is not good, so the legendary hero Firebrand must destroy them, with you as the player being Firebrand. For the most part, it's a really good kind of action platformer title. If you had noticed, it kind of has its own thing with the hovering and wall clinging mechanics. Basically, the way it works is if you're jumping, press jump again to start hovering. And if you notice, when you're hovering, you get that little gauge at the bottom. As you hover, the gauge depletes. If the gauge empties, you fall. And yeah, that's a lot of where the game's platforming comes from, is controlling your hovering. The interesting thing is the fact that if you touch land or otherwise just aren't hovering anymore, your wing gauge instantaneously refreshes, which is really cool and arguably kind of abusable in some later segments of the game. Oh well. Okay, anyway. But I'll discuss that more probably in those later segments. Also, if you fly into a wall, you can cling to it. It's not really that complex. So, that all said, we get to the end of the first area, the Dimension Portal, to face off with its boss, the Demon Fish, or Ghoul Shark. I don't know what the heck this thing is. Except that appropriately, as he is the first boss of the game, he's fairly easy to defeat. Assuming he's cooperative and providing you with some patterns that allow you to actually hit him, such as he's not doing right now. Okay, come on, where are you gonna come up? He's gonna come up on the other side, isn't he? Yep, there he is. Yeah, this is not good to be doing with one point of health, because where he spawns is, I don't think it's fully randomized, but whatever pattern there is to it is really hard to make heads or tails of. But still, ultimately, it is the first boss. It's fairly easy to go down. It's basically just jump around the arena, don't get hit, shoot him. Not much else to it. And so, with that We walk through the door, and we have passed through the dimension portal and reached the ghoul realm. Where we were before, other than a very tiny room, I don't know, but we're now in the ghoul realm, and the game is now switching to the second part, and the kind of what makes this game one that I really enjoyed a lot. I mean, well, still do enjoy it, otherwise I wouldn't be playing it here. But yeah, because I mean, in addition to the fact that it is a really good platformer title, with all the great little extra mechanics, the gliding and the jumping, which it takes a lot of advantage of to make some interesting areas. It also has some light, and I've heard most things describe it as light RPG elements, but to me they feel more like something out of like a adventure game. Mostly because of the fact that you don't really level up. I mean, you do level up, but it's one of those, you grab this power up and that makes you more powerful for the rest of the game kind of thing, rather than what you'd normally think of by leveling up in an RPG. But you also explore a world map, talk to people. Sure I am, because you're all going to die. Because you're all the weakest type of enemies in the game. Anyway, talk to people, complete quests, engage in random encounters, and as you would in random encounters, you're rewarded with vials, which is pretty much the game's version of currency. And there we go, see, we just obtained 2 of them. And it basically is used for, well, I'll get to that in a moment, because I think, yeah, we're right here up against the first town, which is also going to be the end of today's video. But before we end the video, I'm going to show, actually, oh yeah, there you can, as you see, you've got your different attributes: jump, wing, and life, which basically jump is how high you jump, wing is how long you can glide, and life is how many points of damage you have, or points of life you have. I've got enough vials, I don't need any more. Okay, but yes, vials are used for one thing and one thing only, and that is buying Talismans of the Cyclone, which are basically extra lives. You can start off by trading 8 of them for a single talisman, and yes, you have to buy them one at a time for some reason. I don't know why. It's kind of irritating though. But yeah, but they're started at 8 talismans, or 8 vials for 1 talisman, but that does go up as we get to the later towns in the game. And as for other reasons to go to towns, that's where the closest thing this game has to a save point is. Ghouls can be revived by chanting the resurrection spell. Yeah, passwords. Remember that little booklet of passwords I had as a kid for this game? I really should have learned to label those passwords, and in hindsight, as I had tons of them, and I didn't know what a single one of them did. Anyway, since this little demon giving us a password here is going to be the closest thing to a save point this game has, we'll call this a stopping point. Tune in next time where, well, we continue on. See what we need to go now that we've passed through the dimension portal into the ghoul realm. Until then, as always, later folks.